Welcome back to the channel. My name is Mark. Before this video starts, I wanted to thank all of you for helping me reach 6,000 subscribers. Your support truly means a lot to me, and I will continue to do my best to share these stories with all of you. Now, let's get into today's stories to find out what happened. Every Thursday afternoon, my wife took our clothes to the laundromat. I'd get home from work around 5 and she'd still be out because she slept in late and watched soap operas before going. But to her credit, she always had dinner ready and waiting for us. I usually waited till she got back to get myself a serving. But one night she still wasn't back by 6:30. That was awfully late. I texted and called her but she didn't answer. She had a flip phone and had trouble paying attention to it. I just hoped she was okay. I finally ate a couple of bites, then decided to drive to the laundromat to help her out. I found her loading the clean clothes into the van. She was surprised to see me and started stammering when I asked what gave her a late start today. She blushed and finally admitted she was reading a steamy romance. I laughed because she was behaving so shamefully around me when normally she would be so outgoing and dramatic about the books she read. She was very animated and sexual with me. But when she mentioned it this time, she was embarrassed and didn't want to talk about it. That made me wonder if she was thinking of someone else or if something else happened that day. When we got home, she didn't sit down with me to eat. She urged me to eat without her while she got a shower because she felt yucky. That was different too. It was pretty normal for me to sneak into the bathroom and give her a little start while she was showering just before I hopped in with her. So I decided I should take advantage of that and see how she reacted. She actually screamed. She was so freaked out. She was obviously on edge. I tried to shush her and calm her down, reaching out to take her in my arms, but she ignored me and continued washing her private area. She said I scared the crap out of her. And for that reason, she was mad. I told her she seemed on edge and different before that. She climbed out of the shower to dry off and became exasperated with my insistence. She swore to me that she was fine and just felt worn out from cleaning. She was nearly snapping at me, and it was so out of character for her that I stood there staring at her. She told me not to look at her like that and left the bathroom. I went into autopilot for the next few days while I observed my wife's behavior. She was as quiet and normal looking as possible. It was like she knew something that she wanted to tell me. But couldn't. There weren't any celebrations coming up. And as far as I could tell, something was wrong. She took longer to get home again the next Thursday. But she said it was because she went to a different one. I asked why and she said it was because it was cleaner and newer. I accepted that for the time being. But when I drove by it the next day after work, it was super dumpy and gross. I couldn't believe my wife lied so blatantly about why she didn't go to the same laundromat. When I got home, we sat down for a quiet dinner and I asked her why she lied to me. She looked like a deer in headlights. She asked what I was talking about and I asked her if she had more than one lie going. She said she wasn't sure what I meant. I told her I drove by the laundromat and it wasn't cleaner or newer as she said. Just then her phone rang in the living room and I got up to get it. She jumped up too, but sat down when she realized I wasn't going to stop. It was an unprogrammed number. I answered it and it was some man. He hung up when he heard my voice before going back to the dining room. I looked at her texts and saw she had some back and forth messages with this number. He thanked her for her help and asked her if she'd be there again next Thursday. She said no and asked him to stop messaging her. He asked why. And then called 2 seconds prior. A text apology and wrong number came through. My wife came to look at me and took her phone out of my hands. I told her she needed to tell me what happened. Right. Then I wasn't waiting for another second to find out what happened. That changed her and made her start lying to me. She locked her phone and collapsed on the couch, planting her face in her hands. She told me that she met a man at the laundromat last week. He was a veteran that just got back from serving a few days ago. He was looking for the touch of a woman since it had been a long time. He was pretty straightforward and my wife felt like she had to help him because he needed it. He was a hero and it was just like her steamy novels. I was furious. I knocked over a lamp and a huge fight ensued. I asked why and she said something, but my blood was boiling so bad. I couldn't even listen to what she was saying. The neighbors actually knocked on her front door in the middle of it. And when they saw my face, they were scared. They asked if we needed any help because they heard the commotion and I told them we were just addressing my wife's infidelity, but it would be fine. Once she left, she said she wasn't leaving until the courts told her she had to leave the house. The neighbors left quickly to let us continue our discussion. I ended up leaving because she was a stubborn cow. I rented a hotel room for a while, stayed with my cousin, then with a friend all until the divorce was final and she was ordered to leave before it was official. My wife ignored me while living in her house and probably having the veteran over after she was ordered to leave. She called me, I didn't answer. So she texted me calling me a few names and asking me why I had to be like this and other nonsense. She was just bitter because she thought she was going to win. When I rejoined the dating game, word spread that we divorced because of her infidelity. Her family caught wind of it and asked me where she was living. Now, I didn't know. So it was a while before people found out she was staying with the veteran in his tiny dark apartment. She went off the grid for a while, even for her family, and stayed with him until he kicked her out. He let his relative move in and he told her bros come first over a woman as the reason for kicking her out. Basically, he got some overdue woman fun until he was done playing house and moved on with his life. My ex tried reconnecting with me, then feeling ashamed for being so willing to share herself with him when she had a wonderful marriage with me. I told her I was over it and she wasn't my responsibility anymore. Wow. I'm sorry, your wife took advantage of the trust you had in her to do laundry without you. It's a shame she wasn't mature enough to know the difference between fantasy and infidelity. She didn't consider you or the guilt she would have to face for her lies and betrayal. Even though this happened, it's lucky you did find out the truth and didn't stay with her another 10 years before finding out it was her responsibility and duty as a wife to say no in the face of temptation and return to you. You made the right decision by confronting her, answering her phone and then leaving when she wouldn't. It was because of your clear thinking and thoughtful actions that you have another chance to find true love, which is selflessness, honest communication and loyalty. Thank you for sharing your story. Now, let's get into our second story for today. I, 33, came home from work one day extra filthy. Usually I managed to stay pretty clean, even though I worked on a farm. My wife, 30, and I were sort of hippies living from place to place and depending on the generosity of strangers. We loved life and would work hard at whatever opportunity we found together. You'd be surprised at how generous and kind some people will be to others. The media likes to label everyone terrible. And even though my story kind of does make my wife seem like a terrible person, that's not what I want to focus on. We both volunteered to work hard on this guy's farm in exchange for a place to stay and warm meals. The hard work was easy when it came to riding the horses. My wife and I loved that time and experience. Scooping the droppings was a little less desirable, but all worth it. Feeding the animals was great fun. Anyway, that day, I fell into a mud by the pigs. I came in a little early to shower and didn't see the farmer or my wife anywhere. That was pretty normal because he would work in his office or be outside somewhere, fixing something. I heard the shower running, so I assumed my wife was in it. I saw her silhouette. When I walked in, I got naked, prepared to freak her out by giving her a muddy hug. But then I saw a second silhouette. I went to open the shower curtain to find her standing in the steaming shower with the farmer. I screamed and asked what was happening. She said she didn't think it was too big a deal for him to ask her to shower with him. I was stunned. Yes, we were staying with this guy and yes, we were free thinkers, but she didn't ask me or tell me about it and it felt like there was something more going on. The farmer apologized to me and said, if I wasn't cool with it, it wouldn't happen again. I said it was strange and since I wasn't told about it, I felt weird. When my wife and I were alone, I told her I wanted to leave. She said she didn't think we needed to and really liked the setup we had there. Of course she did. I felt like I was fuming when I asked her if he ever asked her for sex. She said he hinted towards it in the shower, but she wouldn't do it unless I was involved. She probably didn't realize how much this bothered me. I told her I couldn't stand the thought of sharing her, even if I was there. She looked disappointed and that killed me. I asked her if she was really looking forward to sleeping with another person and she said she wasn't sure about other people, but she liked the idea of doing it with the farmer since he was helping us out. I told her I had to leave and if she didn't want to come with me, I'd consider our relationship over. She thought about it for a minute, then offered me some time away to find myself with the possibility of me returning to her and the farmer whenever I was ready. This was disgusting and painful. I left without another word to or from either of them. Fast forward 2 years, my ex randomly contacted me. I couldn't believe it and I hesitated to read her message. It said that she was still living on the same farm. But 5 months ago, the farmer had a heart attack. He was in the hospital in critical condition and she hadn't been able to keep up with all the farm work, hospital bills and business expenses. Her name wasn't on anything so she couldn't legally access his funds or do anything without him. She wasn't sure how she could stay at the farm for much longer and didn't have money to get very far. I told her to find someone else to ask for charity. She broke my heart and went behind my back. Then chose someone she barely knew over me. I thought we were lifelong partners that lived free while remaining loyal. She betrayed me and didn't care when I left. I told her it took me a long time to recover from that breakup and only just now started to find a good place in life. She wasn't going to ruin it for me. I hung up. I got a voicemail from her a year later explaining that she had my number memorized and was calling me from prison. She was charged with identity and financial theft since she resorted to acting as the farmer by authorizing payments on his cards and selling some of his animals. When he recovered from his hospitalization, he kicked her out and reported her to the police for buying herself a car with his money, selling his property without permission and signing his name on legal documents. It was bad. Although our relationship was never romantic again, we did keep in touch from across the country. I finally settled down, got a steady job and remarried. Everything worked out for the best. Even though I had to go through a bit of heartbreak. I'm sorry, your wife carelessly betrayed you and let you go. It proved to be a very bad decision when she found herself posing as someone else to stay alive. She probably wouldn't have found herself in that situation if she stuck with you no matter what. While remaining loyal, a marriage should be an agreement between two people that have a very clear understanding of what the agreement is. Sure, marriages look different from person to person. But usually when two people come together, it's because they communicate honestly and know they are compatible. Your wife didn't operate as a loyal and respectful wife and it's quite possible she needed to go through the consequences she met in life. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening,